Internet, I've seen good and you ain't it. My name is Matthew Kroll.
And who is you, man? My name is Shahir Dowd.
And this is the only podcast about movies, specifically the film Moonlight.
But this isn't just a normal episode. We're recording from a very special location. Where are we, Matt?
We are in Rotterdam.
Netherlands.
The Netherlands for work. That's why it sounds like we're in a hotel room. We're actually doing this on Facebook Live as well.
We are in a hotel room, and that's why it sounds like it.
And so look at the beautiful Netherlands.
The Netherlands, right here.
Our view is not good, so we just decided.
But that's how much we love our fans. Can we call them fans now? Yeah, we
sure,
can call them
not?
fans. Is that we are out on work. It's late at night. We've just come back from a full day. It's not just because we love our fans as well. It's because I personally really wanted to talk about this movie.
I mean, I did too. I, however, have not slept in 30 hours. So this review might not be my clearest, but it's going to have a lot of heart.
This may, I think, from both of us, be an incoherent review, but I want to preface this by saying it's incoherent babbling.
I want to preface this by saying it's not worth your time. Don't listen to these people on no sleep in a foreign land.
Incoherent babbling, but mainly because my incoherent babbling is going to be heaping praise upon this film, which
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert for my review of this movie. But Matt, have you got a synopsis of the movie you can kind of fill us in on?
I sure do. I'm going to lean forward here. It's going to say something like, this is from IMDb.
Okay, great.
A timeless story of human connection and self-discovery, Moonlight chronicles the life of a young black man from childhood to adulthood as he struggles to find his place in the world while growing up in a rough neighborhood of Miami.
Fair enough.
That kind of covers it.
It kind of covers, and this is the thing: the hyperbole around the reviews for this film make that first line a timeless story of human connection.
Sure,
so, like that. Ordinarily, you could attach that kind of line to almost any film, and you would be probably wrong. But I'm just going to go out and say that is an apt description of how this movie feels.
It's not bad,
really. No, okay.
I don't know. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I really like the movie. I'm saying the description. You know what it is though? It's not wrong, but it's cold.
Really?
This movie has a lot of feeling to it, and the description to me sounds very clinical. Like, boy has feelings, grows up, times are hard.
Oh, I guess I was just referring to the timeless connection part, because I did feel that there is something effortlessly timeless about this movie. It is entirely a film that feels like you could watch it at any point in history, and it will make sense, and it will be important. And the thing that I think right now is that, look, we are how many days away from an election, and it feels like we're in this period in American history where xenophobia, racism, feelings of anger towards other people that aren't in our political spectrum are all around us. And I feel the thing about this movie is such a beautiful testament to love and to the it sounds I'm saying the kind of cheesy phrases that you hear in synopsis, which is that it's a testament to the human spirit, but it truly is. And it's and the thing that getting into my first impressions of the movie is that I adore this film. I think this film is going to be within my top 5, if not hitting the top 2 at this point of the year. And I do think this might end up on my top films of all time.
Wow. High praise.
Really high. Like, this is one of the few films where I walked out of it kind of in a daze, just kind of bewildered by what I'd just seen. And then the next day I was just thinking about it all day and I've only seen this once at this point, but I really want to see it again. I mean, immediately I want to see this movie. And every time I watch the trailer, I'm going, I just want to see this again. I want to experience this for a second time, because I think it's such an amazing experience.
I agree. I mean, I think
let's throw some water on it.
Yeah, I know. No, you just poured some sugar on it. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. It's definitely one of my favorite films of the year. Probably not my top 3. I'd maybe give it number 5 or something along those lines. It's really strong. Tons of stuff about it. Really sort of just. It is. It's a very human feeling film, and I really appreciated that. It's basically This is Boyhood, but not gimmicky and really good.
It is gimmicky, but the gimmick works here.
I don't think this is gimmicky. I just think this is good filmmaking. Boyhood. Now, I'm not saying the gimmick. It's the greatest. Boyhood is the greatest gimmick film ever made.
Right.
Like, I think it's from a practicality sense of it, like, oh my God, this is amazing. You filmed it over this kid's entire life. This movie, for the uninitiated, basically it chronicles a young man through 3 periods of his life, and it's not, instead of played by the same actor like in Boyhood, they, I think very aptly and correctly, forego that conclusion and actually have just 3 different actors play them, and it's completely believable. I feel like they're really all one person. All 3 actors who play each age range are wonderful. We'll talk about them in a bit. I liked it, and I think in a very overall either lackluster or general,
because when you saw it, you texted me right away and said it was wonderful.
Yeah,
and you seem to have tempered your response a little bit now. What's changed?
Let's put it this way. I definitely want to see it again. I think it's wonderful. I think the cinematography, the score is fucking nuts. Like, the acting is wonderful. I want to see it again because it's one of those. I have a thing with, like, if a movie's using my emotions for its gain, like that's a good
movie
film.
Does.
Yeah. But like this one really does. And I want to see if it's a first time experience thing or if it's something that can keep happening and find new things and new meaning. And I think it can.
Right. So so this is slightly off topic, but a correlating movie for me like this is Gravity, which I think Gravity is an excellent movie, but it's one where I don't feel like repeat viewings give me any more out of it.
Right. You got the price of admission, you got your hit, and now you're moving on. Like, right, there's no, yeah. And I honestly think this movie has multiple viewings in it. I just want to, my gut says that.
Right.
But I don't, but then again, it's not the same as, say, a film, and I know we always go back to it because fuck it, we always go back to it, but Mad Max, I was like, when it finished, I was like, play it again.
Right.
So,
oddly, this is a movie like that for me, where it finished and I was like, I needed a minute to process what I'd just seen.
Sure.
But immediately after that minute, I was like, I need to see this again.
Right.
And yeah, it is, look, it is interesting that the film is garnering so much praise and people are talking about it right now. But it is sad because it's not actually doing that well at the box office. And to me, the thing about it is
$2.1 million as of time of recording
from a $5 million budget. And then the thing is, the thing that I was thinking about was that in the period of our culture that we're living in, particularly in America, this is a movie that I feel everyone needs to see. I think everyone from every culture, every demographic needs to see this movie because it is a true testament to love, which I think is really important, but also to being an outsider and to empathy. I think this movie is just beautifully empathetic. And that's its entire reason for being is to empathize with someone whom life has heaped terrible atrocities upon.
Right. And I think if any film can do that, it's this one. I do think if I want to play devil's advocate for that whole thing, like I would love everyone to see this movie, but I guarantee you the people that need the message the most aren't going to listen to it.
You only need to look at the YouTube page comments for the trailer.
Fuck
of this.
That fucking wretched hive of scum and villainy
to see where some people may not get into this. But I fundamentally believe that if you sit down to watch this movie with an open heart, even if you're not a cineast, if you're not a person who loves cinema,
if you never use the word cineast,
cineast, if I'm not
unless you're starting that with Gary,
okay, Gary Sinise. Okay.
It's close.
It's close. Yeah, we'll run with it.
Speaking of run with it, we forgot something very important, Shahir. We're heaping praise on this film when we should be, at least in the beginning of this whole thing, be heaping praise on ourselves.
Wow. Well, look, there's never a non-opportunity to talk about ourselves.
Us being the only podcast about movies.
We should do our only podcast review about our review. We actually do that every year. Anyway.
Yeah, we do. Basically,
we do it every year.
But no, if you guys like what you hear, you're overall, not just this one, or maybe just this one, you can reach us at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. We also have a fantastic website of the same name, onlymoviepodcast.com.
You're just saying that because you built it.
Squarespace built it. I plugged a template into Squarespace, and this is the house that Squarespace built. You can also reach us on Twitter at onlymoviepod, and if you like what you hear, please go to iTunes. Anyone watching on Facebook Live right now, just you're on your computer, go to iTunes. Is anyone commenting? PJ Morrison. Apparently, I make you hard. That's what you just said in the chat. So if I make you that hard, PJ, I love you. Go to the comments and write 5 stars. Matt makes me hard on this podcast. I would really appreciate it. And everyone else, you don't have to write that specifically, but let's just.
I think our iTunes page is going to get a little awkward.
I hope so. Anyway, sorry, that was a tangent. Back to Moonlight. Let's talk about the director a little bit, Barry Jenkins.
Yep, and you got to see him in a live screening.
Yes, he was there at the PGA screening of the film, and he was a delight. He was very smart, and I always like it when I like the person who made the movie. I mean, obviously I like peanut butter and jelly, but like it's very base. Of course, you like something that you like, but it actually let's put it this way. I could see a film this strong and this powerful having a creator be a total sort of like full of themselves, sort of diva-ish type person.
The way you talk about me sometimes.
Right. Yeah. You could have, but like a personality type like you could have made this film. He was so humble and so just loved the product that he made and all the people that he worked with. It was just really nice to sort of experience that in the room with him. And he was talking about how, because I guess it's based on the play.
Was it based
in
on
Moonlight? In Moonlight, Black Boys Look Blue.
Yeah.
Which is an unproduced by Terrell
play.
Alvin.
It's an unproduced play.
Right.
So it never. In fact, I was reading an interview with Terrell and Barry Jenkins where they talked about the fact the play never got written. It was basically an outline for an idea for a play.
Yeah. No, I think there was a script. Are you sure there wasn't?
There was no play. Barry Jenkins wrote the script.
Wrote the script for the play, but they never put the play on.
No. He wrote the script for the film. Was there
no
a book
play then too? Because what they mentioned was certain things from the original play that they didn't put or that the film added to. Like there's a scene later on where he confronts his mother. One of the main character of the film confronts his mother. That wasn't in the play.
Right.
So I thought it was more complete than that, but I could be absolutely wrong.
I mean, the impression I got from what I was reading was that the play was very unformed.
Okay. Fair enough.
Which I think is actually an interesting point, because I think if the play had been formed and it had been put on stage, the play would have informed what the film became. And in this case, it certainly feels like the director took the kernel of this idea and just ran with it in his own way and came up with something entirely unique. And the other thing is that the writer Terrell Alvin McCraney and Barry Jenkins came from the same neighborhood.
Right.
So though they didn't know each other growing up or anything like that, the thing that Terrell was talking about that he was so impressed by was that Barry managed to capture the essence of what it was like to live in that neighborhood. And of course, that's because he was from that neighborhood. But I think taking a story like this and planting it in your own neighborhood makes it feel personal. Like it does feel intimate and personal when you watch this movie.
Right.
Which again, I think is, why people should go and see this as well. The other thing is it reminded me of what great cinema is. I've been struggling a little bit recently because I'm having more emotionally resonant moments with TV. I'm finding TV a little bit more engaging these days. But this is because this film used the cinematic, like the 2-hour window that you get in a film theater.
Sure. In a film theater?
Yeah, in a film theater.
A motion picture movie film?
A motion picture, a movieograph.
Right.
So beautifully that it reminded me that how different film is to TV, to what episodic television does.
Sure.
Film is entirely, in a way, film is kind of like a brushstroke painting, whereas TV is kind of more like a novel.
Unless you're talking about the you or the DCU at this point.
Well, no, see, those are like Alex Ross covers. You know what I mean?
But the point is, you're talking about a film as like a one-off painting, whereas a TV show is like a sequence, and they're connecting them all, especially with Doctor Strange, which we'll be doing next week, by the way. So everybody tune in then.
Right. All right. Moving on. But then, okay. So what did you learn from the screening that you went along to?
No, I just learned that it was definitely. Again, this sounds fucking awful, but you go to some of these screenings and these people sit in front of you, not this particular one, but other screenings I've been to, and they're just like, oh, everyone, it was such a great process. It was a labor of love.
Right.
They couldn't have done it without these people and blah, blah, blah. And you can tell when someone is being genuine, and you can tell when they're giving you the, like, please see our movie. This is all people, blah, blah, blah. But this group of people, and the director, Barry in particular, was just so earnest and relatable and a great speaker, and able to sort of cut through a lot of different things that the audience, any questions they had or anything like that.
It's we've both been to screenings like that with the director in person, and it's interesting because those kinds of screenings are the optimal way to watch a film to get you to like a movie.
Yep.
Even if a movie, like if a movie's like 60% good in your opinion, with the director in person and hearing about how it was made, it suddenly takes on a different, it gets basically at least 10 to 15 extra points.
Sure.
Because of the way in which you're watching the film.
Right.
But so you saw it in the sitting, you texted me afterwards saying you loved it. And this is the thing I was really worried about as well, is that everyone...
Because I liked it, you thought I'd hate it?
No, because you liked it, I thought I might hate it.
Oh.
No, but then everyone's kind of been messaging me about this movie, and the hype has been so like, you have to see this movie.
Well, it just seems like your kind of movie. I don't know. It just seems like a Shahir special.
I was kind of like worried that I was going to walk into it and be disappointed because the hype was so high.
The hype is real.
But the thing is that the hype is entirely deserved in this case, in my opinion, and the film exceeds that hype by a manifold of 10 or whatever.
All right.
It is an extraordinary experience. But so you saw it in the theater. Generally, what are the things that, and here's an interesting, this little side note. We have been meaning to do an episode about Boyhood. We've had Boyhood requested to us for our classic film reviews.
Thanks.
I'm actually interested to rewatch that movie. But the interesting thing is that Boyhood, Oscar winner, recent inductee into the greatest movies of all time list by the BFI, I believe, is not a film either of us love that much.
Right.
Spoiler for that review. And this, so the difficult thing about doing that review is we've been trying to get guests on for it, and we hopefully will have a special guest on for that.
I want to find someone that loves that movie. If you love that movie, you write us in.
But I don't think it'll be hard to find people that love that movie, because it is such a praised upon movie. And it's not, I admire that movie, but I'm not a particular fan of that, and we'll talk about that in that episode. But this film, for you, seemed to take on the qualities that you were looking for in Boyhood.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
It seemed like a true to life emotional journey of a man growing up in a tough situation.
Right.
And Boyhood felt like a boring, like milquetoast gimmick. And again, I shit on it, but then I'm like, but the technical acumen and the patience and the craft that it takes to make Boyhood is insane and should be praised. I just don't think beyond that. It doesn't, like, I guess here's what I would call it. Like, if like cakes, right? Let's talk about cake.
Okay. I can talk about cake.
So, like,
We're not
how
talking about
sometimes
cake by the ocean, though.
No. That's not till after hours.
All right. This couch is going to get very uncomfortable.
So, but like, how like there's you get a cake and a lot of you want it to look good and taste good. right? But then there's people that, you know, can you just make it looks like a bland cake but tastes amazing. And then there's like the crazy like Cake Boss or Cake Challenge cakes that probably don't taste that great but looks like a fucking roller coaster set in like the Prohibition era. Like it's just, do you know what I mean? Like, so
I'm waiting for you to bring this home.
So Boyhood is that Prohibition era roller coaster cake. It looks amazing, like, and the skill that it must have taken to make that Boyhood cake.
The Prohibition roller coaster
just go with it.
cake.
Go with it. Go with it. But like probably on the inside, it's all toothpicks and like Rice Krispie treat to make it into that shit. Like it just there's no filling to it. It's just something that looks incredibly pretty, and you can marvel at the technical acumen that it took people to make it. Whereas this film, whereas Moonlight is concerned, it kind of does both,
right?
But it does it without gimmick, and it does it without throwing the idea. Like the movie is about the movie came about because it's a wonderful story about a boy growing into a man and the trials and tribulations that he goes through.
And it's also a very specific story.
Boyhood came out because they're like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could follow a kid the entire way through his life?
I think it's being a little unfair to Boyhood, even though I'm not a fan of Boyhood. But I think the Boyhood comparison is a good gateway for us to discuss why we like this film. In that, I think in Boyhood, the technique of filming someone over the course of their life, or filming it over 12 years or whatever they did for was it 7 years?
I believe so.
No, it was. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was 7 years.
Well, we'll get into the Boyhood review where you can argue facts on.
I'm 26% sure it was 7 years.
The technique and if you want to call it the gimmick of Boyhood seems to supersede the actual film itself. Like the film to me left me feeling a little cold.
That's what I'm saying.
And here the technique is they've kind
technique is great filmmaking.
Yeah, they've kind of stripped away the sort of performance side of it, where they're using the same actor over a course of his life. Sure. And instead they're using three separate actors to tell this character's life through three different periods of their life. So not like Boyhood, which goes through, you know, many years. Right. And the thing is the story, it is so specific. So obviously one of the things we've maybe danced around, but maybe
let's dance.
I don't think it's weird to say this, and it's weird to kind of talk about it this term, but because I think it's reductive in some way to say this is a film about a gay man, and it's a gay issues kind of film. But I just want to say that, and then say that is not entirely, that almost is incidental to the film. It's
coming of age. Whatever person you are as you come of age, that's and that's not to take away from anyone who can tie into the aspects of that film that talks to. But like at the same time, this could be it could be it's anybody growing up in difficult situations, and anyone can relate to it. It's
anyone
not
growing up and finding love. But the thing is obviously because, you know, like it's such a specific minority group, which you know, I think that it's been well documented that gay black men are a minority among a minority, and so they have an even harder time, you know, like finding a community. I know that's kind of broad strokes, and we don't want to suggest, you know, like that we know everything about this topic, because clearly we do not. But the thing is that, you know, like you could come at this and say that this is gay black boyhood, I guess, is, you know, like one way to be reductive
but
about it.
But I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's not, and that's the point. Is that is a entirely reductive way to discuss the film, because it's purely coincidental that those factors are in the film. It's much more a testament to how beautiful love can be, and how beautiful finding love can be, and
how heartbreaking it can be and how it changes your life when it doesn't go your way, when things go to shit, and when people let you down. Like this thing's packed. It's a packed fucking film.
I mean, the thing about this movie is that the performances and the writing are so good that there were little moments that nearly brought me to tears. And there were moments that I don't think were designed to bring you to tears, but they kind of, they left me, like the emotional weight of what was happening in this film, and the emotional weight of connecting to this one character, Chiron, throughout his entire life, right, was so well executed that the tiniest glimmers of like light that entered into his life were just kind of, they would leave me weeping. And there's one moment in particular I want to talk to when we're going to do like a breakdown of the movie.
Oh yeah, we are in 3 chapters.
In 3 chapters. There's a moment in the second chapter that just kind of brought me to tears. Again, even though I don't believe it was meant to. Which I thought was kind of, like, and that's more of a reflection of me than the filmmaker, than the filming, than the film itself, because I think I was so absorbed and wrapped up in just the kind of world of this movie that little moments really profoundly affected me.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think those moments exist. But I mean, yes, maybe by accident, but it's because of all of the wonderful craftsmanship that sort of surrounds those moments that the bridge work would obviously be just as good.
Right.
Anyway, so this movie is actually broken up into 3 chapters of Chiron's life.
Right. And they're labeled.
And they're labeled based off his nickname, his real name, then his next nickname. So the first is when he's 9 years old and his nickname is Little.
Right.
And that sort of lays the groundwork. Now, Little Chiron is played by, let me see if I can find this, Alex R. Hibbert.
And he is astonishing.
He's so good. So this kid, it's basically, so it takes place in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid gets picked on. He has one friend named Kevin.
Right.
Who sort of like, I'm trying to remember the sort of scene in all the kids are playing outside.
Yeah, they play football, and there's obviously Kevin has Chiron is clearly the kid. We all know this kid. There's one kid that always is a slight outsider, is a slight oddball, and is always picked on.
Sure.
And Chiron has one friend who can see past all of that, and that's his well, it's not his best friend, but it's a friend. Named Kevin. And he's befriended by a drug dealer.
Well, yeah. So this is the side thing. So
well, actually, is how the film begins.
Right.
In an incredible opening shot, by the way.
Right.
That single take wrapping around the drug deal as it's happening.
His name's Juan.
Yeah, and he's played by Mashallah Ali.
Yep, who was having a dope as fuck year.
He's amazing in House of Cards.
He's amazing in House of Cards. He was awesome in Luke Cage.
He's kind of my favorite character in House of Cards.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite. He was my favorite. He was first or second in Luke Cage.
And he's great. He's so good in this movie. I don't think he's one of those actors who just has so much charisma and charm that like he doesn't need to do a lot. And I don't think it's weird because I don't think he does anything especially great in this film, although it is quite a departure from what you might have seen him in House of Cards.
Sure.
It's, like he's playing a classic drug dealer in this film.
With a heart of gold.
But you can see when he's with this kid that he does have a genuine heart.
That's what I'm saying.
He loves this kid. And it's weird because you're not sure how this relationship is going to go. To begin with, you're really worried that he's going to do something to this.
How they meet is basically the neighborhood kids chase Little.
Yeah.
And he hides in like this crack house, basically.
Yeah.
And in comes Juan.
Yeah.
And he's like, what are you doing in here? Like...
the thing is,
where do you live? And the kid won't tell him where he lives.
Yeah.
And then he for the night, because it's getting late, he takes him back home.
With his girlfriend. Teresa, played by Janelle Monáe.
Janelle Monáe. Holy shit. High triple threat.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, look, she's such a fucking show person. I don't know, whatever, a great, an amazing entertainer and musician that this did not shock me, but it took me a while. I'm like, that woman looks very familiar because she didn't have like the crazy cool hair.
She on Tightrope? Was it Tightrope?
She has a ton of them, but like she's been in like, she's in like Pepsi commercials and like she's all over the damn place. And then to see her so sort of restrained, but still a very powerful character in this film, it was very, very cool.
And then, so what was interesting about this in this scene, there's obviously this immediate dramatic tension in this, in the fact that there's this drug dealer picking up this like 10-year-old kid and taking him back to his house, and you're kind of wondering,
where's this gonna go?
Which way is this gonna go? And I was kind of just waiting, I was kind of dreading this moment for so long, like where's the line gonna go?
Sure.
But the thing is that Teresa and Juan look after this kid so well, and their home is such a a refuge from his actual home.
Right, which we then learn about the next day.
His actual home is with his mother, Naomi Harris, Paula, who is, we later reveal throughout the film, has a drug problem.
She also buys from Juan.
Yeah,
which ties the whole thing together in a very uncomfortable bow.
Yeah, and that's the kind of, but again, it's not a huge story revelation. It's not a big moment or anything like that, but it's this moment of tension, which is that Juan becomes a father figure to this boy
while kind of destroying his mother's life. Although once he finds out that the mother is Little's mother, he says he'll stop selling to her.
Right. I mean, it doesn't.
Not that does anything, but it
doesn't do anything. But then, like Juan takes it upon himself to check in on the kid, look after him. And you're just worried. Is he grooming him for either to be a potential drug dealer or for something much more nefarious?
I don't know, man. I didn't have that feeling.
As the film went along, obviously that feeling dissipates because
from the moment he took him home and met.
You don't think that's weird? Taking home,
it's very weird. But what are you gonna do if the kid won't tell you where he is? And you found him in a fucking crack den. What are you going to do? You just gonna
take him to the cops?
He can't take him to the cops.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you see what I'm saying? The optics of that, of taking a child.
But I think, yes, 100%, until he brings him home and Teresa's there, and it sort of levels the whole thing out.
Even with Teresa being there, I was still kind of uneasy with where this was going. And then obviously as it goes on.
I think the way that they played it and the way the acting was done, I think it transcended that. And that's what I mean. I think Mahershala Ali is just, he's so warm and charismatic and good, in the film that you kind of get past all of that. Right. And it's like if there's a beautiful scene where he teaches him how to swim. Yes.
And he holds him in the water. It's in the trailer if you go see the trailer. And it's just this beautiful, it's one of those, it's the first among many moments where when I think about that moment, it's almost as though I'm experiencing that moment in history. Like I'm imagining what Chiron would be thinking about that moment when it happened. And I think even the first time he sees Juan, where Juan breaks in through the crack doors window, the crack house window, I think older Chiron would think back to that moment as this powerful, emotionally resonant moment. Here's this person busting through this door and he's there to help me. I just
sure.
That's the kind of level that this film operated on for me. Like where every image took on some power. And just as an aside, the movie is just gorgeous to look at.
It's stupid. You're gonna get sick of looking at how pretty it is.
Yeah, it is ridiculously pretty. Like please go see it in a theater.
How many tabs do you have open?
I open a lot of tabs and I look at a lot of things.
Oh my God, dear listeners, you can't see this, but I'm peering. We're never sitting next to each other. Right now, for those of you not watching on Facebook Live, we're sitting next to each other.
I am an abuser of the tab system.
Normally, we sit across a desk from one another. That's fucking insane. Close some fucking tabs, dude.
Look, so I have this tab open because I wanted to remember the DP's name. His name is James Laxton.
There's not as many people that worked on this movie as you have tabs open.
But he did such a beautiful job of shooting this movie.
Did he do Youth?
The short film Youth.
Damn it. I saw Youth and I got real excited.
Not the Youth that you're thinking of. He also shot Tusk.
He shot Yoga Hosers. That's fine. So he's a Kevin Smith guy.
Kevin Smith's movie.
Wow.
Which is odd because Kevin Smith is. Wow.
Did he shoot any Owen Wilson movies?
No.
Wow.
No. But it's funny because Kevin Smith's movies, not in a pejorative way, but aren't known for their beauty.
Oh, wow.
They're kind of flat looking, and Moonlight is not that. Moonlight is this gorgeous anamorphic, color drenched film that paints this. It's almost painterly. It is. I truly.
I just like you and your accent saying the word painterly.
Or what does it sound like to you? Panterly?
No, I don't even know. That's again, that's you. Painterly.
I would look. I think this is the best looking movie I've seen this year.
Ooh.
Without a doubt. I would struggle to remember a film this year that struck me as how beautiful this was.
It depends on these. I don't know if I can say that off the top of my head.
Right.
yeah, I don't want to like sit here and be like, and think about it. So, but I'm not going to agree right away on that.
Okay, so
but it's gorgeous. It's fucking
gorgeous
beautiful.
looking movie. Achingly gorgeous.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, kudos to him. He did a fucking phenomenal job. And again, I know we keep mentioning it in passing, but the score, and you hear some of the score in the
it's beautiful
in the trailers, fucking powerful. It's very good.
And I've already chosen the song we're going to go out on because it appeared in the film. And
why else, Shahir? Why else did you do it?
Because it was the song that my wife and I danced to at our wedding. It was our first.
Oh man, guys, the only podcast listeners, do you feel the corruption here? This is why Shahir loves the movie so much. Why don't we dig through his emails? Why don't we dig through your emails and see? And that way we know how corrupt you are.
How corrupt? Oh God! You're pulling another election correlation.
It's my first and only.
The song that we're going to go out on this podcast on, because I think it's a beautiful song as well, is "Cucurucu Cu Paloma" by Chitano Valencio. That's pretty close. The reason I love that song is it first appeared in a Wong Kar-wai movie, which I think
my friend Court Dunn just fucking jizzed all over his pants. He's a huge Wong Kar-wai fan.
Who isn't a fan of Wong Kar-wai? And this film, I think, bears a strong relationship to Wong Kar-wai's film Happy Together, which featured that same song in its opening titles. So I wouldn't be surprised if Barry Jenkins is a fan of Wong Kar-wai. It certainly, though not stylistically similar, I think there are some emotional tones in the way that characters develop over time that I think is true to what Wong Kar-wai does.
Okay.
But that's why I love it. And
that's Wong Kar-wai?
That's Wong Kar-wai. And
that's Wong Kar-wai, you think that?
That's Wong Kar-wai, I think that. Oh, God.
I'm sorry.
So for
31 hours. Yeah. 31 hours I've been awake.
For Facebook viewers, this is what I got to put up with.
I'm very punny tonight. It's how it has to be. So let's get to chapter 2. Punny human. Wow. See, and now I got Shahir doing a pun about puns in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's trained. I might as well put a treat right on your nose. It's wonderful.
Can you feel the condescension like thicken through the room at this moment?
No,
okay, we got off the movie a little
bit.
Chapter 2.
Chiron.
Chiron, who's now known as
Chiron.
Okay, this is his actual name. Mm-hmm. A new actor plays him. And an actor...
Ashton Sanders.
Who again, just... The transformation, because everything, you can see the psychological shift that happened between the periods of time that have passed.
Right.
Just through the actors.
So now he's what? He's probably
15, 16, something like that. He's a teenager. And
it's painful. It's painful how much it reminds you, like, you can be a different kid, and you'll have a problem here and there, but you're still like a kid, so it's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Something like at the end of the day, but then this, like when you're a teenager and you're different, it's fucking hard.
It's really tough. And the thing is that this kid looks like a strong wind will blow him over.
Yeah, he's
he's very frail looking. But he's obviously, there's still this like soul behind his eyes kind of thing that you feel the presence, even if it's an entirely different actor, you feel the presence of the same character.
It's very impressive how the performances really portray the same character. And I know it's like silly, like we've all seen movies where like it's the young person, then the old version. Like this is so much bigger than that. Like this feels legitimately real. Like it feels, even though from a technical standpoint, these are not the same people, it feels real.
Yeah. And so what this chapter is entirely about is Kevin, Chiron is basically, this is the thing. It's kind of a cliche. He's basically being, terrorized by bullies in class. But the way I'm describing it feels entirely inauthentic to how authentic the actual experience is.
Right.
It feels very real. It feels threatening. It's dangerous. And then there's this moment of respite from Kevin. His younger friend,
right? Who
basically has this beautiful, again, just gorgeously filmed intimate moment where Chiron has basically run away from home.
He's being tormented.
He's being tormented.
Oh, side note, Juan is dead.
Yeah, one just kind of
dies off screen.
We don't hear,
but he's still close to Teresa.
Yeah, we don't talk about why Juan died, but we can just presume he's a drug dealer. Things went wrong. Whatever. He's dead now.
Whatever.
And so Chiron is still basically going to Teresa's house when he's trying to take refuge from his mother,
who's gotten much worse.
She's basically a full blown crack addict at this point. And the scene,
rolling him for money, basically at one point.
And the scene that I was talking about that was so beautiful that actually kind of had me in tears was when Chiron goes to Teresa's house and has dinner, and Teresa kind of looks at him, and he's got his head down, he's eating his food, and she just kind of looks at him and says, "We don't do that in this house. We have pride in this house. We sit up, we look up, we have pride in this house." And I don't know why, but that moment, her saying that to him, I guess it must be because of the way we've seen this kid being picked on. We've seen how bad it is for him at home, how isolated he is. To have someone in his life who says something that affirming, that powerful, it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Agreed.
And I just thought that was such a tiny moment, but such an important moment for that character. And I think it's a reminder of I think that those kinds of little details are the things that funnel into who he becomes as a character later on.
And beyond my my prohibition cake analogy, I will say that these are the types of moments where Boyhood fails me.
Yeah,
they don't exist there, which leads me to believe, and again, this might be fucking me being an asshole. Surprise,
when have you ever been an asshole?
But that says to me, gimmick came before story and before character, because if it didn't, those moments would have been in there in conjunction with the gimmick.
Here's the thing, and I know we're not talking about Boyhood, although I guess at this point this could be our Boyhood review.
Sorry, guys.
Is that
Boyhood review is just going to be us being like, Moonlight did it better.
Yeah, Moonlight's amazing. Go see Moonlight. Kartik Singh, the person who requested our Moonlight review, our Boyhood review, we've kind of covered in this one.
I'm sorry, buddy.
Hopefully we'll go into more detail. But the thing about Boyhood is I think the I don't want to call it the gimmick. I want to call it the mechanic of that film, which is like filming in...
Gimmick's a harsh word, but I think... But that's why I think it was made.
No. I genuinely think it's a mechanic of that film. And I think the filmmaker, Richard Linklater, was trying to explore this idea of can we take a character through his life? And I think it's very hard to do. And the shortcomings became apparent the further they went on.
Yes.
Whereas Moonlight, which is such a much more tightly contained, constructed film, doesn't fall into those pratfalls because they're basically allowed to give they
put story above technique of telling the story differently.
Right. So I think I genuinely think that Boyhood is a film that was written. It's basically like laying the tracks down as the train is coming down the road, and
it's like the most boring improv you've ever seen.
Let's not be too harsh on Boyhood. We're gonna have to talk about that. But Moonlight is where you can see the forest from the trees. They know exactly where they're hitting.
They crafted a masterpiece. They crafted a great film.
Right. So
there's a difference.
So then Chiron and Kevin have this wonderful moment where Kevin basically comes out to Chiron on
the beach. So Chiron runs away from his mom, I think, after the rolling, after she tries to get all his money away from him.
Yeah,
because Teresa gives you money, blah, 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 blah.
He spends the night kind of
goes to the
catching
beach.
catching trains
to go to the beach.
Yeah, and then Kevin picks him up halfway.
Well, Kevin's there. He's like, "Oh, this is my spot too." Which I thought, if I have one criticism of the movie,
right,
it's the fact that Kevin was just there.
I think it's a very small area,
but he took a bunch of trains. Like, it was kind of far. Like, he went real far, and the beach isn't that small. I don't know. That was, again,
I don't know that area,
I'm
but
picking the most nitty of nits right now.
Right.
But that was the moment where I was like, okay, convenience.
But
it doesn't take anything away from that moment. So basically, they have a very intimate moment. Kevin comes out. They have and Chiron and Kevin have a
sexual encounter.
Yeah, and they
the first sexual encounter
of at least Chiron's life. Definitely not Kevin, because Kevin was seen with girls too.
Well, he describes being seen. He describes having sex with the girl, and then Chiron imagines it like while he's having a wet dream. That's or something
right.
Later on.
That's right.
So there is this sexual encounter, and you can see that this sexual encounter means so much to Chiron because it's
and Kevin in a weird way, even though it breaks apart later down the line.
Yeah, it means so much because it's like the first time he's ever been able to express his sexuality. You know, like his sexuality that in this community that he lives in is so taunted, so hidden, so something that he can't. Like his
something
mother,
he can't be. Yeah,
he can't be. His mother even says to Juan at some point, do you know why everyone beats him up so much? Like and when he's a little kid, he asks Juan, he's like, "What's a faggot?" Like and the answer is so good. The answer is, it's a word people use to make gay people feel bad about themselves. Uh-huh. That's such a good answer for that question.
Drug dealer, heart of gold.
I know. So Kevin and Chiron have this moment, and then it all goes wrong.
So they drive back. They have a great sort of goodbye-ish moment, and then the next day at school, the bullies convince Kevin to beat up Chiron.
Yeah,
and he doesn't. Chiron doesn't fight back, and he just gets pummeled by Kevin. Yeah, and then the last scene, I believe, of Chiron in Chiron's chapter is him with his face in the sink full of ice.
No. What happens after that is...
I'm wrong.
You are. Never happened before.
Nope, and never will happen again.
Chiron basically comes back to school the next day, and he
that's right.
And he slams the bully in the back of the head with a chair.
Yep.
And then gets arrested and taken away.
Yes, that's right.
And that's where that chapter ends. And it's the other tragedy of this movie happens in the next chapter, which we're going to get into right now. And so what happens in the next chapter is Chiron is now, he's taken on a nickname that he was given by Kevin when he was younger, which was Black, right? Like he was called, like Kevin as a little kid called him Black. And now that he's older, he calls himself Black. And what's happened is Chiron has gone to prison, come out of prison, and become a drug dealer, much like his father figure, Juan. And now, older Chiron, played by
Trevante Rhodes.
Trevante Rhodes, again, amazing in this film.
So fucking good.
Is built like a brick shithouse and looks like 50 Cent in that first video. So suddenly this scrawny, sort of kid that looks like a stiff breeze would blow him over is now
just jacked.
This hulk of a man, this hulk of a beautiful man as well. Now running, basically taking on the role that Juan did, and older Kevin, out of the blue, who's now a chef, and he's played by one of my favorite TV actors right now, Andre Holland, who is in The Nick, who's so good in The Nick.
You love The Nick.
Oh, The Nick is amazing. The Nick is one of the best TV shows ever made. And Kevin calls up Chiron, or Black, out of the blue, and
I see what you did there.
Black out of the blue, and Moonlight, black men look blue.
It's circular.
That's what I'm doing.
Time, flat circle, love it.
Calls up and just to apologize, it's like what, 20 years later, and he's kind of like, hey, I just wanted to stop by. If you ever, I'm a chef now, working at a small diner. If you ever want to, if you're ever down here, I want to cook for you. And it's like this, and just imagine like this guy who's basically had his whole life be defined by that one moment, by two moments.
Two very different moments from the same person.
Yeah, two very different moments from the same person, to have that person suddenly call him, and basically you can see what's happened here is that his body is his armor now. Like his being jacked, being cut is his armor. He says himself, I built myself back up to be hard, and you can see that that's what it is. It's not just it's not just an actor trying to look jacked for the movie. It actually means something. So I thought that, but here's the point I wanted to make earlier, which is that there's a conversation that happens with Kevin and Chiron later on. We'll talk about that specifically, but there's something about where they're talking about how they both got locked up and sent away. And the tragedy of the film is, one of the tragedies that I was kind of thinking about was that how casually it was that they talked about being arrested, as though it was in a way inevitable. And if you look at a film like Avi DuVernay's 13th, you know, the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, and the way in which minorities, particularly African-American men, are sent to prison more at a higher frequency.
Right.
That kind of like little comment just kind of is heartbreaking to listen to, because you love these kids, you know, these kids are great. They're just kids, you know, but they get taken to prison for things that, you know, like not, you know, to be flat about it, white people could do, right, and not get taken to prison for. And there's something about them, the way they talk about that casually. These are two guys.
Because it's just their life. Like that's all they know.
Yeah, it's all they know. You know, like, so what's happened is Kevin went to prison and that's where he learned to become a chef. And Sharon has gone to prison and that's where he became a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And there's just something so casual about it. It's the same way in which the Juan, the Marshala, I'm saying his name differently every time, Ali, the way in which his character gets killed off screen, so you know, like it's just kind of this passing thing. It's like, this is the lives of people in this community. You know, people die, people go to prison. You know, and that's kind of, for me,
the film does a great job at calling attention to not only the instances, but the fact that the instances are so benign in these characters' lives.
Completely incidental.
And it's something that when you step back and look at it, you're like, this is fucked up. Like, beyond what's happening to the characters, just the way that they talk about these awful things that shouldn't happen to people on a regular basis. You're 100% right. Again, it's the small moments between the cracks that really fill in this movie's like greatness, I think.
Right. And so this third act basically has two main scenes. One is where Chiron Black is reconciling with his mother. Reconciling with his mother in some way. She has now gone into rehab and is basically trying to keep her head above water. And she says this lovely thing to him, which is that, you have no reason to love me anymore, but I want you to know that I will always love you. And I understand that you won't, that if you don't want to love me.
Right.
But I just want you to know, no matter what, I will always love you. And again,
sure,
that just thinking about that scene hits me like a ton of bricks. That's kind of a
I just had no empathy for the mother, but I'm a cold fuck. So
yeah.
Yeah.
You are a cold-hearted man. But I love that scene. I thought it was so well done.
Love the actress.
Yes, Naomi Harris. Very good. You might remember her from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, she's been in a bunch of stuff.
She's been in a bunch of things. Very good in this movie. She obviously has the kind of biggest dramatic role, you know, like a lot of crying, a lot of like shrieking and that sort of thing. But she's very good in it, and it's very well done. And then the center... I think it's the centerpiece of this movie.
It's all the diner stuff.
The diner stuff. And here's the thing. I know it's weird to say it out loud. I'm a heterosexual man. You're a heterosexual man. We have no qualifications to talk about the intimacy of that scene. But that scene was so sexy to me. It's so weird to say that.
Sure. No, because you can see, and this is why, I don't know, I feel like anyone should feel comfortable talking about this with any sexuality.
I feel bad for having to like preface it. No,
and I get why you did, but like what I'm saying is like, again, testament to the fucking film. These are two characters you can tell like care so much about each other, even though they haven't seen each other for 20 years. And there's tension, and there's so much sort of unsaid in history and things, and it's powerful and it's palpable, and it just feels real, because no matter what your sexual orientation is, no matter what it is,
attraction
most likely
is
everybody has had that moment.
Yeah.
Or at least one in your life.
Yeah.
And so when you can see that, no matter who the two people are, and you can be like, fuck, like that is 100% relatable because the way the camera's moving and the score and the actors and the script, like it's all coming together to feel so real to you and powerful, then that's something that's special. Again, something that Boyhood never did.
Okay, I want to get away from the Boyhood thing because I think
Me too.
I think you're kind of breaking it down in a way that makes it feel mechanical. The thing about
Boyhood's mechanical. This is not mechanical.
No, the thing about this is that this scene, it is the summation of everything we've seen before.
Yes,
and it's a centerpiece that's built around conversation and like little nuanced moments.
Because there's no like super sexy moment, like until like the very
no. Well, see, here's the thing.
No, it's not.
I thought
it's just powerful. It's emotional.
It's powerful, and I think it is genuinely sexy in this weird way. So, like the scene where Kevin goes to cook Chiron a meal.
Yes.
And then the film really goes to this final scene. It probably lasts like 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's a long part of the movie.
It's a long, but it is like...
It's great. You never get bored of it, which is another testament. You don't get bored about this fucking scene where one dude is cooking another dude food and they talk.
And that's the centerpiece of this movie. And that's kind of why I'm thinking like... more like this is the film we need right now. You know, like it's not an action scene, it's not a sex scene.
I wish people could just get the fuck over themselves and like watch this and understand it from a human perspective as opposed to like putting up a trillion fucking defenses, because that's the problem. And again, that's the issue. Like this is probably one of the most easily relatable scenes in cinema, but people will actively fight against it because they're stupid.
I don't want to make a presumption about people watching the film. I just want to say that I think the film is crafted so beautiful. And again, what I loved about it was the little details that happen in that scene. And that to me is a testament to the writing. And the reason why this scene was sexy is because of all those little details. So the little details include Kevin basically making this, I want to say, like this meal looked delicious. It was like this grilled fish tilapia Cuban dish or something like that. And then with black beans or something, and he brings it back to the table. And you can tell when Kevin was making this meal, he was putting everything he had into like, but it wasn't like he was trying hard. It was effortless for him, but he was like He was making a meal filled with love.
Sure.
And he handed it to him. And like,
Shahir, that's the secret ingredient.
That's the secret ingredient to every meal. And then he hands it to Chiron, and Chiron has these like gold fronts, and he takes them out very gently and puts them to one side, and he kind of slowly...
And Black, he's called Black now.
Black now. And like Kevin's looking at him, he is not the kid he knew before.
Right.
He's this muscle-bound Hulk now. And he's like, who are you? You're just not what I expected. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what'd you expect? And it's just this... It reminds me of one of my favorite, I think one of the other sexiest scenes in film that I can think of is a scene from Steven Soderbergh's movie Out of Sight with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez. And there's a scene where basically they sit across the table at each other and they have a conversation about how they really shouldn't be at the table with each other, but they're there. And that to me is a super, super sexy scene. It's intercut with them actually having sex later on, but this, but the thing is that there's nothing.
Sure, let's talk about more sex scenes while we're on the couch.
I listen. I think we talked about this in 2 episodes ago, where I think there needs to be more sex scenes and gratuitous sex scenes in movies. I think that's.
We talked about this.
Yeah, we. I can't remember which film we were talking about. I think it was The Devils actually. Where we were talking about. I am a firm believer that there needs to be more gratuitous sex scenes in movies, because I think we don't spend enough time thinking about sex as a normal human interaction in cinema. We tend to think about violence as a normal human interaction.
I remember the conversation now. Yes. Okay.
So again, like if you know me and that's my thinking about the way in which film should deal with human emotions, why this scene was so good to me. Like why I just loved this scene so much. And this is the kind of film that has it has this very distinct 3-chapter structure, and then the final chapter almost breaks into real time.
Sure.
And it's a film that can just do that effortlessly.
So yeah, and so it does. It sort of transcends its own sort of structure in a weird way. So then the film ends.
Well, there's the final revelation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The revelation is that Chiron has never had another sexual encounter
other than Kevin on the beach.
Yeah, other than Kevin on the beach. And he, like he says this thing to him, which is like, you're the only person that's ever touched me. I've never let anyone touch me since. And that's why I'm here. And you can see the dilemma that Chiron has here, which is that Chiron has basically built himself, he says the line, I've built myself up to be hard.
Yeah.
And he's going to be forced to let down his guard. And the whole dinner and going to the restaurant and driving and sitting with him is basically being him evaluating whether he should let down his guard, because he's not vulnerable anymore. He's not a weak person. He is the strong one in this scene.
Right.
Whereas Kevin has been previously. So that change, I think, is just, it's so fascinating and it's so well done. And it's kind of, I can't think of a film that like recently that has this kind of like profound transformation of a character.
Neither can I.
So I ate it up. I just, I walked, and it ends with the beautiful moment where they basically almost recreate the moment at the beach.
Right.
Which is where the title of the movie comes from. I just thought this film was gorgeous. I'm borrowing a line from Alex from A Clockwork Orange and saying it's gorgeous and gorgeosity defined. Everyone should see this movie. It is without a doubt. I'm going to be very hard pressed not to have this on the top of my
your year in review, which I guess is coming up in a couple months. In a month or so.
It's going to be very hard for this not to be number one. I can think of a film that might take its title, but
Doctor Strange next week. But yeah, okay. Well, I mean, so final thought. I mean, that is your final thought, really, right? Gorgeous in its gorgiosity.
Yeah, I just think this is. Look, I will go see this in the movies again. I will buy it on Blu-ray. I will watch it again. I will show it to anyone I can. I think this is a profoundly beautiful.
It's phenomenal,
film.
and I agree. Everyone should go see it. I think one of the reasons I'm so hard on Boyhood is this is everything I wanted Boyhood to be.
But this is not a review about Boyhood.
I know, but what I'm saying is, like, this movie feels important. This movie feels like needed and crafted incredibly well, and I really enjoyed it. I do wish I'm glad it's picking up a little bit of steam,
right?
But it definitely needs more eyeballs on it.
I will be very disappointed if it doesn't get nominated for a lot of Oscars, but the cynical side of me will not be surprised.
I don't think it will, because
I think
people are stupid. Anyway, Shahir, when you're not trying to make me not talk about Boyhood, where can folks find you?
People folks can find me at shahirdaud.com. That's shahirdaud.com. For a special treat, what I'm going to do, I think on our Facebook page this week is I will put up, at my wedding, we had a little video playing of my favorite scenes in movies while we had our first dance, accompanying the song that we're going to end this podcast with. And if listeners will watch that and they could identify every single film that's in that little montage, which a friend of mine, Andrew Bertel, cut, and he did a wonderful job on it. I will give to listeners 2 free movie tickets this week.
Oh, wow. All right.
Try that out. I'll put it up. It'll be on our Facebook page, Only Movie Podcast, on Facebook. You can also hit us up if you want to get a direct link to it. I guess email us at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at onlymoviepod.
Gee,
Matt,
where can folks find you, Matt? Thank you, Shahir. That was so nice of you to toss to me right after you pitched yourself for a minute and a half. You can find me at Emperor MSK on Twitter, Skeletor 4 PREZ on Instagram, and all my life and works at MatthewKroll.com. Guys, this has been the only podcast about Moonlight, and I wish there were more.
I wish I wish more movies were like this. I wish every time we went to the movies, the experience was just like this. Now, obviously, you can't have too much of a good thing, but
cake. It's back to my cake analogy.
Yeah, what was it? The prohibition roller coaster.
The prohibition roller coaster cake.
I have never heard that expression.
I don't think it's ever been spoken. There are cakes. There are cakes at weddings. I'm bringing it in. I'm trying to close it up.
Really, just go for it.
And now, so I'm gonna picture. I'm not gonna watch that video because I can't win the tickets. I'm in this thing. I'm just gonna picture that it was a 1940s
prohibition
roller roller coaster.
Inside the cake was just like toothpicks and rice cakes
and rice cakes
and the occasional mouse. I mean, that was my wedding.
Guys, we'll see you next week for Doctor Strange.
Hopefully in our home country.
That is true. All right, guys, we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.